Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Pages to Pixels podcast, where we talk about new movies every week. I'm Rohan, that's Kevin, and today we're going to be talking about Superman. And now, Kevin, before we jump into Superman, I kind of want to talk about, and when I say Superman, I don't mean the character, I mean the new James Gunn Superman. I'm pretty sure people can tell, but just in case. Uh, but yeah, but before I want to jump into the movie Superman, I want to talk about the character Superman and kind of, my history with it. I know that you haven't seen much of the uh the other movies, correct? I think yeah, you saw Justice League or Justice League because it's the not even the Snyder version.
I don't even understand. I still don't know. Like, I know some of the lore behind why the direction was taken that way. I just know that I saw the movie and I thought it was terrible. um, yeah, that's my only real uh experience with Superman.
Yeah, I mean the lore of the whole why Joss Whedon came in and replaced Snyder was kind of sad. We can get into real quick, like kind of broad strokes. Zack Snyder's daughter passed away, and he needed some he needed some time. So he wanted a break, and potentially a delay in the movie. Warner Brothers, they kind of took that, and they had gotten, you know, Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, both directed by Zack Snyder, weren't exactly the biggest of hits. People said it was his style was too dark. So they kind of they used that as an opportunity to effectively fire him without firing him, and brought in Joss Whedon uh to at the time this it was spun as he was just putting finishing touches. Kind of turns out through later reporting that he did make a huge change. I don't know. I don't want to get into too much of the Snyder Cut stuff. I know that a lot of his fans can be super toxic, and that did happen. But that is kind of what started what kicked off that whole saga. We're talking about Superman in general. Or sorry, you saw that Justice League movie. So what did you think of Superman in that movie? Actually,
I thought he was kind of a dick. I didn't really like the movie at all. Like, it was just very,
it
I
wasn't a
don't
very good
know.
movie.
And I think also Superman is sidelined and villainized kind of throughout the whole movie, which it just kind of doesn't make sense to me. I think that the Justice League just they had so much inner turmoil that I
Yeah.
can understand the appeal of like an Avengers movie. I haven't seen all of them. I think I've only seen the first one. But
Hmm.
like you get the sense of like their banter and dynamic, but they do leave room for like some conflict that feels reasonable, but at the end of the day, they're like heroes. Justice League
Yeah.
just felt bitter and just it took itself almost too seriously for me. I just was not a fan of the direction, and Superman specifically in it is just like barely like I don't know. I don't. He feels very disconnected from everything.
Right. Yeah. I do think that the Snyder Cut is an improvement, but it is very much that core storyline. I think that they kind of lean into the whole um mythology. Like I feel like the members of Justice League are portrayed almost as Greek gods, and I think that the
Hmm.
Joss Whedon version kind of it does that, but then it leans into the Whedon jokes and all that, kind of bringing it back. I think the Snyder version just kind of leans into that. Works for some, work doesn't work for others. But yeah, in terms of Superman, I will say, um, I grew up watching some Superman stuff. I of course I saw the Christopher Reeve, which is a classic. Um, it's an enjoyable movie in my opinion. It does have some issues, namely, um, and I guess spoiler for a movie that came out in like 1977 or 78, something like that, or 1980 maybe.
Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Uh, but he spins, or he flies so far or so fast around the Earth that he reverses the direction it spins in. and that in turn reverses time.
Hmm.
That's not how time travel works. Just by spinning the, just by making the Earth rotate the other way. But it kind the movie did kind of lose me there, but it's an enjoyable movie. That said, I wouldn't say I was a huge fan of Superman, and this is a hot take. But I will explain why. Uh, the movie that, funny enough, made me a fan of Superman was actually Man of Steel. And I know that everyone hates it, and I think even more so now, especially with the new one. And there's um, and it is tonally, at least, extremely different than Man of Steel. Man of Steel was kind of, it was very much like, hey, let's make a Superman movie in the style of one of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. I agree, tonally, stylistically, doesn't work 100% of the time. Um, but I thought Henry Cavill was awesome as Superman. And I think that was the Superman that got the immigrant story mostly correct. And they kind of lean into it more with Batman versus Superman. I saw this one tweet one time, which was like, "Hey, how come like Pakistani and Indian people seem to really like Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman?" And immediately a bunch of replies were, "Well, it's about an immigrant who was there was a big, almost attack, uh, like a 9/11 style event where someone else from his planet committed, but he had no involvement with. If any, actually, he was trying to help protect them." And then Batman vs Superman is all about the consequences and people not trusting him because of that. And so I think I really, really enjoy it for that aspect. It's still, Henry Cavill is still my favorite Superman. I won't deny there are some issues tonally. I just can't defend uh Parkend saying maybe when when Clark asks, should I have let a bunch of school children drown? um the Parkend not like allowing Superman to save him when it would have been very, very easy to save him was not like, it just felt so forced and contrived. It also, and then of course everyone talks about Superman killing Zod. Uh, I technically, if you watch the movie, he is in a situation where he doesn't really have a choice. But I also think that they wanted him to kill Zod, so they put him in that situation. It didn't feel like, it didn't really feel like uh, a natural occurrence within the story. But that's it. Again, I really like those movies um because of uh Henry Cavill. I thought he's fantastic, and also just nailing the immigrant storyline of Superman. And then there's another version of Superman that I really, really love, which this is. I know I just said Henry Cavill is my favorite Superman, but if we're including animated Superman, then it's Jack Quaid, because I think one of my favorite versions of Superman is, there's a show on HBO Max called My Adventures with Superman. Um, and it's just,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
yeah, it's awesome because I think it grasps the immigrants storyline that I think Man of Steel does well, but then it has the tone of, hey, this is what Superman should be. Um, and it also taken it from a younger standpoint. Lois is not a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. Uh, she's an intern at the Daily Planet. It's really cute, wholesome, but also at times really exciting Superman show. And now we finally have James Gunn's Superman starting the new DC universe. I know I've talked enough, so I want you to have a shot to speak. Yeah. So just broad strokes, what do you think of this movie?
Oh, I think before I get into the my thoughts on the movie, I want to kind of establish more of a relationship that I had with Superman, which was like I said, not very much, but kind of I know of what Superman ideals are and like why he's very popular. Like so kind of when I was a kid, right? Like I was watching a lot of action movies and even some like superhero movies that were pre like the Marvel DC like takeover that has been
Yeah.
happening like in Hollywood. Um, but Superman was always something that I miss, and I wonder if it's like that joke about like how like oh if you're playing like Mario Kart you're never gonna play Mario because like that's a boring choice. Superman is like
Yeah.
the boring choice because he's like the baseline superhero. He can fly. He has strong strength, and like I know he has more powers than that, but he always kind of just seemed like, oh, he's like the face of like if you think of who a superhero is, you're gonna think of Superman
Yep.
because it's literally in the name.
Yeah.
Um, so when this movie got announced, I was like, it's Superman. Like, what are they gonna do that's new? I know it's James Gunn. I'm a big fan of his Guardians of the Galaxy. I even
Me
really liked
too.
his Suicide Squad.
Oh, I loved his Suicide Squad.
It's really funny and just like absurd at so many points. It was great. And so when he got announced to be the head of um, DC Comics, like the
DC Studios, yeah.
production, DC Studios, yeah, that's it. Um, I was at least I was like definitely going to give it a chance. Um, I really liked the movie, and everyone who saw it with me was like, "Kevin's gonna hate it. He hates superhero movies." What now? What now? Step up. Who was it? Like
uh
I don't know
yeah.
where I went wrong
I
that
was
people
one of
can't
them.
think I will open up. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. I was one of them.
um,
In my defense, it was I didn't think you would hate it because you hate superhero movies. But there was a silliness in it, and
mhm.
not that you don't like comedy or anything like that, but I was watching the movie and I felt that, oh, I don't think that this type of humor would be your cup of tea. But obviously I was wrong.
So here's the thing. It's like for me, it really channeled comic books, which I do like. Like I really felt like Gunn. It felt like reading a comic book. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like the humor was that absurd. I also think that they do a really good job of establishing the humor really early on, so that the little bits that come up, the smaller, funnier parts that come up throughout the movie, are better. But then also really early, we have this grounded, very human argument between Clark and Lois that felt like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that carried the whole movie for me. Like
That
it
might
was
have
just
been my
like,
favorite scene.
yeah, it was my favorite scene too. It was so good. It was just the way they dragged it out did not feel like it was lasting too long. It was just the perfect amount to get you into the minds of these characters and really root for them.
Yeah, apparently that scene was like 12 minutes long. It did not feel that long. It definitely felt like a long scene, don't get me wrong. It was, but I thought it was going to be like 6 or 7 minutes.
Hmm.
But apparently it's a lot longer, which just goes to tell you, it was a well-written scene that it just had so much going on. The fact that it only felt like the fact that it felt like half the time it actually was is super
Hmm.
impressive. No pun intended with the super. Uh
You know, another thing that strikes me with that scene, and kind of, I know that this will come up at some point, so I'll mention it now, is that, this movie feels like it has a lot of great creative control, which the Marvel movies, in my opinion, don't really have. I feel like the new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, sorry, I'm forgetting the director's name.
Matt Reeves.
Okay, Matt Reeves' Batman. I
Yeah.
feel like had a lot of great creative
Oh
control.
yeah.
So did Christopher Nolan's Batman, and then some of the Marvel movies, like the early ones, like Avengers and James Gunn. I feel like his movies had that. The new Marvel movies, I don't want to see them because they feel like there's something always injected in them that
Yeah.
feels like fault, like the director didn't want anything to do with it. Like, why is Harry Styles getting a cameo in Eternals?
Yeah,
Shout out
there
to
is
Jada.
there is a factory made feeling to a lot of them. I think I agree. I think the Guardians movies stand out. I think another one that does stand out is the first Black Panther movie. At least
Mhm.
the first two acts. The third act kind of does become a big CGI um battle.
Yeah.
And then I think the very first Iron Man movie also did stand out to me. But yeah, in general, I agree. Um I think that the movies don't feel all that unique. From a they don't feel director driven. They feel committee driven. Um,
Hmm.
Now
Yeah.
James Gunn's Superman, I think I think it does feel director driven. That said, um, it does help when the director is also the head of the studio. So it's like he doesn't really have a boss. I mean, I guess Warner Brothers as a whole, but it's not like there is somebody above him telling him, "Hey, you got to make sure you do this. You got to make sure you do that." No, no, no. He can kind of do what he wants. That said, he has kind of said he's committed to allowing creatives to be a bit more free. Obviously, they have certain constraints. Um, but he said that he does not want, for example, the next movie is going to be Supergirl. He does not want Supergirl to feel like the Superman movie. He said it's going to feel like its own thing. When we get a Batman, it will feel like its own thing. Um, so, uh, so yeah, I do admire this movie from that standpoint. I do think that one of the interesting things in this movie, especially for the first of a franchise, was this does not feel like the first of a franchise. Um, this movie could easily be like the second or third movie in a
Hmm.
in a previously established Superman movie, and even in like the movie itself, it feels like you start in the middle. Um, he
Yeah.
starts and he's already gone into Bravia. Um he's already like uh intimidated the prime minister. That's something that you would feel that would build, and then it would happen in the middle of the movie or something like that. But that's literally the the start of this movie.
I saw a lot of criticism, even like a couple people I knew, who said that this movie had too much exposition. Um, and I disagree with that a lot. Like, I like the approach that it sounds like this movie could be like a second movie in a trilogy, because you get kind of like, okay, Crypto Dog does not seem like he would be in the first movie. And
Yeah.
also, this movie doesn't revolve around Superman falling to Earth, but
Uh-huh.
it gives all of the context as to why and makes it important. I and also
Yeah, he's
Lois
here
and
for
him
the
are,
harem.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. They had 200 of the top linguists confirmed that that this speech is real. I did not know that was Bradley Cooper, by the way. That was
Oh
very
yeah.
strange.
Yeah, I saw an article like saying that, oh, Bradley Cooper is Jor-El. This is like 2 days before the movie came out. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, I guess it was a nice surprise, and yeah, I guess some people didn't even realize it, but I think uh I think it was kind of a funny cameo. It reminded me of that random Brad Pitt cameo in Deadpool or Deadpool 2, I think.
Oh, yeah, when he gets zapped as the
Yeah.
invisible guy. Yeah. But, continuing where I left off, him and Clark and Lois are also in a relationship already, and
Yeah.
we kind of get an understanding of where they're at. I'm sorry, but to anyone who is like, I want to see Superman fall to Earth and fall in love with meet Lois and beat Brainiac or whatever, No, I'm glad we started here. I'm glad we got a sense of where the world is. It did not feel like exposition to me. It felt very organic to the story. Everything fell in the right place. I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I don't know how I felt about it, honestly. I felt like it was like it was a little like too quick, and I do wonder if it just kind of assumes that you know a lot about Superman already. Which I think yes, people do. I think people get that he is an alien and his planet was blowing up. And people get Lois being his love interest. I think that people already know. And it's like, okay, cool, he has a super dog, even if you've never heard of crypto. It's like, well, why wouldn't he have a super dog? Um I think the Fortress of Solitude being as built out as it was, um, where like, he has robots that he interacts with. I think that was like I don't know how much Superman lore people are familiar with in that perspective because the Fortress of Solitude, it's not like the Batcave. Like everybody knows the Batcave. I think the Fortress of Solitude is a little bit like, uh, a lot of people might be like, "Oh, I didn't know Superman had that."
I knew of it only from maybe like seeing it like on seeing like a Superman clip like on TV. I don't know what it was, but I knew he had a Fortress of Solitude. I didn't know he had like robot servants. Like well, they're not
Yeah.
servants; they're more like helpers from crypto. But I will say one thing that to note about those is that I also liked how retro this movie felt. Like I thought those robots did not seem like they were like super like they do seem futuristic, but they seem like retro futuristic.
Yeah.
Like someone designed that character in the 70s. It felt like so old school, and I just really um I loved how that translated on the screen. I don't think this movie looks that good, but the costumes and those the technical the visuals like do work really well for me.
hmm Yeah, I will say that is one disappointment I had with the movie was the visual of it.
Hmm.
I think it does kind of just look like, and we were talking about the MCU. I think it does look a bit like a an Earthbound MCU movie.
Hmm.
Um, maybe like maybe it has like a little bit more color pop at times. But a lot of the Metropolis stuff, it really just felt like I was watching an MCU movie or even an episode of like one of the CW shows that
Yeah,
they
Metropolis
did.
felt like a CW show. It did not
Yeah.
look that.
Which that was a bit of a disappointment because I generally think James Gunn's visuals are really good. I thought the Suicide Squad, I love the way that movie was shot. The Guardians of the Galaxy movies, I think they're really really great with all the color they have. It felt weird to me that, and I think James Gunn for the most part did not um play it safe in this movie. I think he took a lot of risks. For example, not making an origin story is a risk. Just kind of putting this many characters is a risk. Some of the politics we can talk about that. We'll talk about that a little
Hmm.
bit later. Um, is a bit of a risk. Uh, so it's just weird to me that he took all these risks and the visuals is where he played it safe.
Again, I think it just harkens back to like what his end goal was. I think his heavy emphasis on the character and writing just kind of took more
Yeah,
like of a precedence. And I still think the movie looks like okay, like it's very passable, but
yeah,
there
it
are
looks
definitely like
fine.
there are like elements that look really great to me, especially in like the costumes and um, I think all of the Luther Corp stuff looks pretty good, like super futuristic, and the portals and everything. Like all
Oh
of that
yeah,
looked really cool.
the Pocket Universe was actually really cool.
Yeah, the pocket.
Yeah, with all the monkeys, humor is another thing that a lot of people have an issue with. I think for the most part, there's definitely times where I felt like it was getting a little too silly, but I think for the most part it did work for me because it doesn't feel like a it doesn't feel like the actor is just doing random improv and like I don't want to keep bringing up Marvel because it's not Marvel, but the at times the Marvel movies does feel like okay the actors are just like improving lines here. Um, this one felt very much like okay it felt like a James Gunn movie in terms of the humor.
Hmm.
It's very James Gunn.
I did feel like the humor was like I don't know, it worked for me if only because I didn't cringe at it. Maybe there
Hmm.
was a couple moments where I was like eye roll worthy, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it was overall funny and cheesy. I think that again goes back to what my interpretation of Superman has been since I don't have experience with it. I've always viewed him as a bit of a cheeseball. Like he's smiling and goofy and he has this secret identity that anyone could figure out if they just looked at him over like
yeah,
two side by side pictures.
yeah.
This is the same picture,
Uh
like
huh.
Jenna from The Office. Like it would literally be I don't know. I think it would be. I think that's why I was so hesitant to even want to watch Man of Steel because I just don't like. I think removing the cheese, adding so much grittiness, just kind of takes away from what I think seems cool about Superman. At least to me, because I think that that's very integral to his character. Like it would be like adding a ton of humor to Batman. Like there is humor in like the Joker, but
Yeah,
that's the Joker. That's not Batman.
yeah. But yeah, but Superman being a little cheesy, that is the real punk rock.
Yeah. That
uh,
needle drop is so good.
yeah,
It's probably one of the best of the year so far.
yeah. And, again, classic James Gunn. He's so good at those needle drops all of his um in just all of his movies. But yeah, I kind of I agree, and I know I've been talking about the stuff that I had issues with, or like what others kind of had issues with. But I kind of wanted to get rid of it, get those out of the way first, because
Hmm.
ultimately, I agree. I think this movie it's great. I know that I know that it feels like a second or third movie in a franchise, and it was a little jarring for me when I'm expecting a first movie in a franchise.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like 5 years from now, if I decide to rewatch this movie, then it's just gonna be an awesome movie to watch. I'm not gonna be thinking about it as the start of not just this Superman franchise, but also um, the DCU as a whole. And I really, really like all the characters. I think David uh, Cornsweet um,
Corn sweat?
Cornsweet is
Corn sweat? Like,
Corin.
how you make
I'm saying
popcorn?
Corin, like the uh, what franchise is it? With
Fire Emblem?
yes, like the Fire Emblem character, David Cornsweet. I think he was a great choice as Superman. I think he is super. I think he nails the personalities of like, hey, the super hopefulness, and charismatic figure, and just very wholesome. You see him constantly trying to uh protect people. He's saves the little girl, saves the squirrel, um, and he's always trying to. He does feel like he embodies what Superman is, but I also think he embodies Clark Kent very well. And I know that this movie explains that there's magical Kryptonian glasses, which makes his appearance different. Um, but even just watching the movie for the audience, him as Clark Kent and him as Superman, I think they do kind of look like different people. Um, Henry Cavill, he looked like the exact same guy. His personality was also kind of the same when he was Clark Kent and Superman, and they did not have any explanation of, hey, there's these magic glasses that make him look different. Um, so if you don't get that he's Superman, that's kind of that movie did break it a little bit. Uh, I think the Christopher Reeve version, he kind of looks the same, but he acts completely different. I think Cornsweet, uh, he looks different, and he also acts different, and it's a great version for it's a great version of both Superman and Clark Kent. I think he nails the dichotomy extremely well.
I don't know. I think they should have done what they did in the Flash and bring Christopher Reeve back with AI
Oh,
instead, so that he
yeah.
could play
Yeah, I believe
Flash.
that was oh well, Christopher Reeve also, but they also brought back George. Um, was it George Reeve who played the other version? Um, yeah, they brought back everyone but Henry Cavill for some reason. Uh, uh,
Didn't want to be a part of it.
I know.
Um, Too busy not putting children in a microwave.
Yeah, God, I forgot the movie did that. Uh,
I wanted to say, I think I'm really glad that they didn't cast Nicholas Hoult as Superman because I think he's great as Lex Luthor.
yeah,
Um,
that's actually really funny because he was, yeah. I mean, for people who don't know, he auditioned for Superman, and apparently the moment he saw David Cornsway, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not getting the role." Um,
mhm.
but apparently he was still so good that they got him as Lex.
He really fits the role well. His temper tantrums are really good.
I liked it. Yeah,
And he's like the perfect like balance of like silly, but he has like the wealth to be threatening. I think the scene that really worked for me with him was the that made him feel threatening was like when he's commanding um the the robot and the clone. So yeah.
yeah. I think he is an awesome version of Lex. I honestly did not expect them to go with this style of Lex, so I expected them to make a Lex more older, more kind of menacing. The fan cast has always been Bryan
Hmm.
Cranston, because of Breaking Bad. He has a deep, kind of gravelly voice. He can be intimidating, super like always calm. Um, Especially after Jesse Eisenberg being the very last Lex Luthor. And weirdly enough, I found Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor a little bit similar to the Jesse Eisenberg. They're both younger. They're both a little bit more eccentric and out there. I just think that Eisenberg's Luthor doesn't work because one, I think he got too silly. Um there is a he can be eccentric, he can be a bit of a man child, but he's literally like giggling in a high pitched voice as if he's the Joker. Um that's what that part didn't work. And Nicholas Holt, he's still silly, but he's not like Jesse Eisenberg level. Um, and then on top of
Yeah.
that, Jesse Eisenberg, it's like that movie was very serious. So he just felt like extremely, extremely jarring in a movie that where everyone else is super, super serious for your main villain to be kind of a lunatic is just did feel extremely jarring. But
Every version of Lex Luthor I've seen has been like the old bald guy that
yeah,
kind of just is really serious. I played the it was uh Injustice Gods Among Us, the fighting game. Lex Luthor, yeah, in that game like he's like super serious. So like I didn't know that there was even like a version of like this character that they could go with these angles. Like obviously, again, I'm going back to creative control. I think that it was a very smart decision. It makes it more like relevant, like less like I don't know, less dated of an idea of what
yeah,
Lex Luthor could be. So yeah, I'm glad that they went in that direction.
yeah. I did have one kind of issue with Lex Luthor, and it was related to his hatred of Superman. I know that in the comics, Lex Luthor hates Superman, But I never felt that this movie gave us that reason. It really felt like James Gunn was like, listen, everybody knows Lex Luthor wants to kill Superman. It doesn't matter. But I kind of do think it would have made me a little bit more invested um in the character and their conflict in general. It just felt very much like, yeah, Lex Luthor wants to kill Superman. Uh,
Well, isn't it mainly because he's not getting praise? Like he wants Metropolis to worship him and not superheroes. It's not just Superman that he hates. Like he definitely hates all superheroes. What do they call them in the movie? They're like
the Justice
um,
Gang.
not just the Justice Game, but like the metahumans. What do
Yes.
they call the powers?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
metahumans.
he hates metahumans. The whole guise of, and I think this is where we can segue into politics, is that he's targeting Superman under the guise of all the other metahumans are on Earth. He came from another planet, and we don't know who he is. So he's using that kind of language to target them. And eventually, if he were to raise in power, he would go after the Justice Gang um, because of that same reason. Just change the language.
Yeah.
Of the
And that is a very good point. I still feel like and I understand that. It does feel a little bit abstract to me. I think that's or not necessarily abstract. It feels more broad strokes. I
Mm.
kind of wish that there was a little bit more of a personal thing with Lex. Like
Right.
yeah, like he hates. I get what you're saying. I think the movie. I think that is correct actually. And it's just I think it could have been for me. It could have been even better if there was a personal like I hate you because something, and not just Superman is in his in in his way for his own goal in a sense.
Right. Well, I think there is this like big that's probably like because of a big disconnect
Yeah.
between them. I don't know how much they would have interacted. I feel like Superman probably hates Luthor, um,
Oh yeah.
but it's kind of funny because Clark Kent is the one who's writing about Superman, and then Lex Luthor's like, "Oh, maybe we should go after that journalist Clark Kent. He keeps talking you up. He clearly hates all of the press that he gets, and
Yeah.
it's so funny because Clark Kent is the one giving him the positive press.
Yeah.
It's really
Which is
funny.
an awesome way to which it's a funny joke, but it's also an awesome way to show okay, it's like here's who knows, here's who doesn't know. Because in many of the comic
Mm.
runs, Lex does know that it's Clark Kent. Um, he doesn't necessarily reveal it because he has his they justify it, in a way. And even in Batman v Superman, it's implied that both Batman and Lex Luthor know that Clark Kent is Superman, even though they never explicitly say it. They also never explain how. But I actually like that in this movie, they're like, okay, Luthor does not know Clark is Superman. And we are going to tell you that in the form of this great joke. Okay. I
So there's a lot of side characters in this movie. Um, I think the main characters that we follow are some of the characters in the Justice Gang, particularly Mr. Terrific.
Mr. Terrific, yep.
Yeah. And then Lois, who has like her own agenda, and then Jimmy, who has this like I want to call it like a D plot. I don't know how to
Yeah.
describe it. But his is with Luther's secretary. They're like dating, and like he's trying to get information. Um, yeah, like I thought that. Um, I think for me, actually, that's the weak point of the film. It's not necessarily their stories, and it's not that they don't necessarily work, but because I actually love all the characters, with the exception of the Green Lantern. I don't really like this Green Lantern.
I
I'm sorry.
loved him.
I just didn't like him. He's just really annoying.
Okay. Okay. But so I have read some of the comics. I've seen animated stuff. This is the Guy Gardner Green Lantern. And the fact that you hate him and the fact that he's annoying is what makes it perfect.
I guess I understand that, but I don't. His haircut is so bad.
Yeah.
I hated looking at it.
The bowl cut. Yeah. I saw a tweet saying, "Hey, does anyone with a bowl cut can anyone with a bowl cut have aura?" And someone just replied with Guy Gardner, Green Lantern.
I really love Mr. Terrific. His scene
Awesome.
with that needle, it was like there's a needle drop there where Lois is like looking around and he's flinging all of his
The T
robots at
spheres.
the
Yeah.
T-spheres, yeah, at all the people. That was such a great fight scene. I loved
Yeah.
that.
Um that might have been my favorite action scene in the whole movie. None of the
Mhm.
other ones weren't good. I liked obviously all the ones with Superman escaping from the Pocket Universe, the final fight with it's not Bizarro, but Ultraman. Uh
Yeah.
yeah, there's another version of Superman like that's just Bizarro also, which is him. But I think that fight was really cool. But that T Sphere fight, it just the way it was filmed, everything from Lois's perspective, the music, just
One take, too.
oh yeah, that too. Yeah. Just awesome.
What did you make of the Jimmy plot? Because I think it it is kind of like building up to like the exposure of Lex. So like that's the important part, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it just too convenient? It was for me.
It is a little bit. Though that said, it really it did feel like, it's like all the selfies she took, they weren't random. They were like it's the whole point is to get Jimmy
Mm,
that information. Um my only kind of issue was that she wasn't like selfie send to Jimmy and then selfie send to Jimmy. She kind of just took a bunch and waited until the end of the movie.
yeah, it would have been nice if he like pieced together over
Yeah.
time, even after she got caught. Like
Yeah,
it would have. I think it would have worked better. The character was really funny though.
she was. I really like
Oh,
Jimmy
Jimmy,
Olsen
moving on
too.
a date.
Yeah. I really like Jimmy also. This is a very different version of Jimmy. He's typically always the nerd and kind of like just a silly um
Yeah,
loner. He doesn't really get the girls, but in this one the girls are like they love him. um
that's where the
and
nerds they rise up.
I know. And then you know, in the animated My Adventures with Superman, he dates Supergirl. So let's see what happens in those movies, and I think it happens in the comics too. But that would be fun. But yeah, I really like Jimmy. And his plotline was decent. It didn't stand out, but it was funny.
Hmm. I think Lois's plotline is probably the strongest. I really
Love
felt the
Lois.
weight of her role when Superman gets to kiss her at the end and
Yeah,
they play the theme. I just thought that was great.
yeah. Side note: that scene was censored in India for being too sexual.
What?
Yeah, that scene is not in the movie at all when they kiss each other um at the end and he starts flying. I don't know. There's way worse scenes that I have seen in Indian movies. Like there's been way more sexual scenes. There's also been um crazy violent scenes that have not been cut. Um
Hmm.
it really just felt I don't know. It was weird, but uh
Yeah, not. I don't understand why that would get cut.
yeah. But I agree with you. I think I love Lois' storyline and Rachel Brosnahan. I thought crushed it. She might be my favorite live action version of Lois Lane. Um, I love Amy Adams as an actress, but I don't think her Lois Lane works.
Mm, yeah, she's not really. I only saw her a little bit in Justice League. It was again. I don't like the movie.
Yeah, I know. And then I think we can talk about uh, Guy Gardner. We already talked about Guy Gardner. I thought he was really funny. I thought he was perfect. Hawk Girl. I think Isabella Merced. I believe that's her name. I thought her performance was fine. like
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. Uh, I
She's
don't
kind of
think she.
underused.
I agree.
Not really.
I think you can kind of cut her out of the movie. But other than her dropping the dictator at the end of the movie,
Hmm.
it's kind of the same thing, and I think that could easily be done by either one of. I mean, I think Guy Gardner could easily do that. You know, he seems like a guy who would do that.
Yeah, like I liked her zinger with that kill where
Yeah,
she was like sure he would save you, but I'm not
yeah.
Superman.
It reminded me of Batman Begins a little bit, where um, Batman tells Ra's al Ghul, "I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you either." But should we jump into Baravia versus Jodhampur? Yeah, so it's Baravia versus Jodhampur, and now if you're following the news, it's very obvious that it's Israel and Palestine. Although these countries did exist in Superman comics, they've been around since like the 30s, I want to say. So it's not completely made up the way that some people think that James Gunn did it, but I do think that the representation is very intentional, which originally I was surprised at, but then I realized I shouldn't be surprised because if you watch his Suicide Squad movie, and even Peacemaker, he does not shy away from politics and kind of criticizing America and its history. And in this one, it's one of America's allies and their alliance. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, the movie was pretty critical of that, and I think that part of the discourse around it is a little bit strange because this is not, I'm sure this is not the only like country like civilization feud that has been going on at the same time as like another movie um like comes out and is about those things, and even like tragic events that are not, that are like smaller, like they just, these things happen, but everything that Superman talks about is relevant to this story, and at the end of the day the message in the movie is like, you know, be, well, kind of be a punk rocker, and being a punk rocker means being kind and being a
yeah,
hero and saving people.
yeah. I mean, of course, you're listen. Uh, this issue is you bring it up, you're gonna get controversy. So
Mhm.
it's not no surprise that the movie got a lot of controversy. I guess the question is, how well do you think the movie handles um the politics? I think I think it did a great job. It's very it does a good job of showing like, hey, why what Baravia is doing is wrong, and I think that that is that's kind of the reason why a lot of people are uh, are pissed off. And I've seen people kind of try to say, hey, it's not the case or it's just wrong. Did you see I'm gonna call him Lex Shapiro. Did you see his review of the movie? Uh, because
No, because I don't follow him. But I know he didn't like it.
yeah,
I choose not to listen.
yeah. I don't follow him either. I watched his I watched his take on the movie, and it's just so contradictory. Because it feels like he starts out saying, "Hey, it is not Israel and Palestine," and then later in the video, he starts defending uh Baravia as if it was Israel, uh, which is like, okay, well, so obviously you are projecting your own uh ideals onto it, and criticizing
the
it for
thing
that
the
reason.
thing with the thing with Moravia is that and sorry, and what's the other country that they're
I
against?
think it's Jonampur.
Jordan Port. Okay. So the thing with like Baravia is literally like they could not make it more black and white, good and bad in
Oh yeah,
this. Like literally, so I don't understand how you can defend a fictional country. It's like if you were like, "Oh, you know, actually Darth Vader had a really good point." And the
especially
Emperor
when
and the
he,
Empire was actually
especially in
good.
episode 3 when he killed the kids.
Yeah, I never understand that, especially with a fictional world like that. They make it very clear um, what the end goal is.
Yeah,
For those characters, they make it clear what they're doing behind the scenes. That's shady, and yet you're still watching it, and you're like, I don't know,
it's
maybe they're good.
nuanced.
No, yeah, it's nuanced. In the movie, doesn't Lex Luthor also just painting like American politics, like Lex Luthor,
Yeah,
um, trying to paint Superman as an immigrant who is evil and has ill intentions. Look at the mayoral race that we just had with
yeah,
Zoran Mamdani. People
yep,
were saying he's an immigrant, he's evil, he's doing all these things. Meanwhile, all of his policies don't really align with what people are saying.
yeah, yeah. I mean, no, you kind of nailed it, and it's just very interesting that um, we see a Superman movie that focuses on arguably the two biggest issues going on right now, at least in America. And it's just really, it's really exciting to see him kind of just hold up um these two things of, hey, this is what, and that's why I love the, hey, this is the punk this is what punk rock is. It's, you know, this is cool to be wholesome, to be kind to people. This and the, Lex Luthor, to be arrogant, to uh you know being super rich to the point where you are valuing greed over everything, and um you're controlling. It very much paints it as like, hey, this dude is kind of goofy. um
Hmm.
and there's times where they're both characters are goofy. There's always a moment where, with the Superman one, anytime he's being goofy, it comes from you laugh, but you also smile, in the sense that it's like, oh, I love this guy. And then he says, this is the real punk rock. And it shows kind of Lex Luthor, the traditional punk rock, be a complete loser. And when you're laughing at
Hmm.
Luthor, you're laughing at him.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the way that I feel like they've painted the two sides in this movie is like you can either be someone who fights for justice and others, and be willing to stick your neck out for anyone, even as small as like a squirrel, or you can be someone who is like a power trip who is jealous of other people's success, jealous of those people who aren't even like wanting the success. Like, sure, you can make the argument Superman is a little bit vain because Clark Kent, he's
Yeah.
like writing himself up in the papers, but he's also always doing it with a purpose of he wants to he wants people to understand him. No one really knows. No one would ever know what Superman is like. But Lex Luthor tries to make everyone know what Lex Luthor is like, and you can't make everyone like you just by that. And that's kind of like, so if you're going with, if you're a Luthor like fanboy or whatever in this Metropolis universe, um like that's the path you're going down. And I think there's a lot that you can um there's a lot of similarities you can attribute that to what's going on in
Hmm.
politics.
Yeah. And I think this movie does it in a way that I think people will find powerful. This is a bit of an exaggeration. Like, I saw this one tweet that was like, this Superman movie might save young men, like this generation's young men or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
and is it was a bit of a joke, it's a bit of an exaggeration. Um, but also there was a comic run when Superman fought the KKK, and I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but um,
You probably can for educational purposes.
Okay, but and when that comic run happened, like membership in the KKK dropped because it was just like, oh my God, Superman is against the KKK. So it has proven that there can have an effect. Um, and obviously I can't say whether or not it would, but given that they know that a character like Superman can have an effect, um, I'm glad that they went the route that they did.
When Scream came out, caller ID increased by like 80% or something. But no, like movies can change the world, right? So let's change the world.
Yeah. All right.
All right,
Uh,
with that, why don't we get into our ratings?
yeah. All right. It's finally time for our ratings. In case you're new, or just as a reminder, the way we rate things is on the script coverage scale. There is pass when we think the movie is not so good, consider when we think it's pretty decent, and recommend when we think it is anything from above average to great. So, how would you rate Superman?
I'm gonna give Superman a recommend, and it's all because of Crypto Dog. So cute.
Oh yeah, yeah, Superman is a big recommend for me. I forgot to bring up uh crypto. Just yeah, adorable.
He's man's best friend. I mean,
Yeah,
he's going. I love how
um,
powerful he is too. Like the
yeah,
fact that he can take down um Ultra Man. Yeah.
oh yeah, or at least at least give him significant damage and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a recommend. This movie is super. It's a lot of fun, super wholesome. Flies by. Doesn't even feel like it's a full 2 hours.
It's a great film. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out.
Mhm.
What else have you been watching?
Yeah, so I just watched Better Man. It's the it's the Robbie
The Robbie
Williams
Williams
musical
monkey.
bio. Huh?
I said the Robbie Williams monkey movie.
Yeah, it's the Robbie Williams musical biopic. Except for the fact that Robbie Williams is a monkey in the movie. Um, why? I don't know, actually. It's never like there's nothing explained about it. It's not like, oh, in my mind, this is how I saw me. No. That's just how it is. And nobody ever questions it. Nobody goes like, "Hey, you're not a human." No, everyone just it is as if he is truly a regular human and there's no other animals in the movie. It's just him. And I kind of loved it. That's the monkey at
Oh
first
no,
it
I'm
was
not gonna
just
fall for this propaganda. No, 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 no. You're not gonna
at,
get
fir-
me to watch the Robbie Williams monkey movie.
at first the monkey is like I feel like they used it kind of like as a way to make a unlikable character kind of likable. And it also kind of hooks you because there's a lot of just it's not even supposed to be humor, but I think the fact that it's a monkey saying the things um
Hmm.
that it does, it just makes it really funny. And I think that's how they hook you. And then once you're there, it's just like it's it's great. Like it has some of the best musical numbers I've ever seen. Um this one's super trippy sequence and one of the best uh like romance montage I've ever seen. um yeah, it was an awesome movie.
So, I mean, I it's an interesting recommendation. I I appreciate that even though I haven't seen it and I'm not sure if I will because I don't know anything really about Robbie Williams other
Me
than
neither.
Candy. I love the song Candy. I think that's good. But I appreciate that it's taking a big swing with like a strange, like a biopic that doesn't have the protagonist as themselves. Kind of like the Pharrell Williams Lego movie.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't remember what that's called, but
I think it's
that's
just called
another
Happy.
like movie. Is it called Happy? That would be crazy.
Yeah, I could be
I
wrong,
feel like I
but
don't remember.
I'm gonna look it up real quick. Like, keep going.
Okay. Um, so I watched Drop rather recently. It is a thriller in which a woman's going on a date for the first time a widow is going on a date for the first time in a while. And then when she gets to the date, she starts getting these like 2012 style meme text messages dropped
Like
onto her
airdropped,
phone,
yeah.
airdropped on her phone, yeah. That are like, you've got to kill your date, and I could be anywhere, and it's like, and then they start threatening her kids and everything. And she's trying to figure out, okay, how can I potentially not have to kill my date, and figure out how to save everyone. And so, yeah, the movie's basically just a mystery thriller. It's kind of like a Hitchcock movie, like just a
Oh, that's
modern
cool.
Hitchcock movie. hmm I think it's okay overall. Um,
Uh-huh.
I think um, while I think that the movie has some merit, and I like one location, mostly one location movies. Like I think it did a really good job of having this like beautiful Chicago restaurant that's super high in the sky. Um, the characters were really like flat for me. Like they weren't really interesting, as interesting as they could have been, and they didn't feel like they just felt too serious. And a Hitchcockian thriller could have characters like, or at least actors that are like a Cary Grant or Jimmy Stewart type. This guy was like Joel Edgerton trying to be
Oh,
very
got it.
nonchalant. It was not, and it wasn't Joel Edgerton. I just have no idea who this guy was. But yeah, it's okay. It's a good movie.
Got it. It definitely looks like one of those movies that it has a silly premise, but it's like, oh, that could actually be a lot of fun. So I might,
hmm
yeah.
They drop the meme part. They drop the meme part really early on, and then it just becomes text messages. And I kind of wish they kept up with that because it almost made more sense with the tone. They didn't do it nearly enough. But yeah.
Oh, but by the
All right.
way, actually, sorry, I was wrong. The movie is called the Pharrell Williams Lego movie is Piece by Piece, not
Okay,
Happy.
that makes sense. I wonder how the band Nerd or the group Nerd is portrayed in that. That's his No One Ever Really Dies, the his
Oh,
group label that was in it. I've been listening to a lot of it lately, so I was thinking of Pharrell. Pharrell is on the mind, I guess.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, with that, we come to an end on this week's episode of Pages to Pixels. I'm Kevin, and that's Rohan, and we will see you guys next week with another episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.